Good morning, everybody. How's your new year going? Well, I could be out shoveling snow, but I decided to visit with you and leave the snow till later. I don't think it's going anywhere. Anyway, Jack's out doing the driveway and we're here visiting, so that pleases me. And yes, how can anything so beautiful be so easy to grow? That's the question. Yes. I just love Moonglow. She has been healthy and happy since the day I got her. She came from a grocery store, and it was one of my first orchids, not the first, but shortly after. And you know, if you're just starting out, it would be fun to video it. Use your phone or whatever you have, and you have a record of everything you found in that plant and what was wrong with it, and who knows, it might lead to a YouTube station. But Moonglow has still some buds to open. She's beautiful, and you know, she's been so healthy. Some you might find scale on once in a while and you wipe it off, but no, she's just typically healthy, so probably the little keiki will come off when she's done blooming. But one thing you're going to find, you buy your orchid and you don't know how long it's been in bloom, but when you've got your own and you've actually reflowered it, the flowers last forever, because you know when they first started, you watched them and you know what's going on. So, I'm at my sink, and this is a typical watering day, and I'll roll up my sleeves and we'll get started. So, once a week, and I always mark it on my calendar, I usually just put a little flower, and I did it Friday before, but I was busy yesterday, so now I'm doing it Saturday. And 99% of the time, nothing gets watered in that week in between. So, I'm going to explain what I do. And just for curiosity, the little ones probably dry out quicker than the bigger ones because of the smaller pot. And I use all fir bark and a little bit of charcoal. Charcoal is a nice aerator, and it helps sweeten the pot. So, you know, I wonder how dry this pot is. Let's see. Go, let's just turn it upside down and see what's happening in here. The bark is dry. It's been over a week. Now, in this sink, and I know that you don't if you've got disease and you use the same water over and over again to dip your plants in, that you could transfer the disease to other plants. But I've looked over mine pretty good, and this is what I do. I usually fill up one of my sinks with water, and I put a little bit of high nitrogen fertilizer. That would be, if you have Schultz, 1555, or this one I use a lot too. It's, whoop, wrong one. 25-10-10. So this one I used a lot outdoors last year too. So this one's a little bit more intense for the nitrogen. Maybe if you're trying to recover a plant that's greenery, needs help, you could use this, but it doesn't mean you use more fertilizer. So usually if I'm using this, I use a smidgen between my fingers and I pinch it out and put it in the water. Today I use 1555 Schultz, and I put 2 drops in a full sink of water. So that's what's in here. Now the sink I will only use for my plants that are not in flower. So I would take this one, poor little thing, and I'd sit her in there. Now she's out of her pot. Maybe if I just put her in her pot for a minute, and then we'll see what happens. And then usually, and this is what I do, so I'm not hiding anything from you, I will take all my small ones that are not in flower, and I will sit them in that side of the sink. Now, the reason we're using with bark a higher nitrogen is because the bacteria that actually break down the bark for you, they use a lot of the nitrogen that's available to do what they have to do, not leaving too much for your orchids. So we are replacing that little bit of nitrogen. And weekly is what the Orchid Society recommends. And I do weekly, but it's kind of a lie because one day, one watering a month, I don't do anything. I flush them out. Flush them out because the salts that may build up, the harder your water, the more likelihood of getting more salts. And so this way you're rinsing them out. And if you have real hard water, you can probably water your orchids with it, but every couple waterings or so, depending on how hard your water is. Maybe you have a rain barrel outside that you collect rain, or a pure water that you use. Flush them out at least once a month to get those extra salts out if your water tends to be a little hard. And that's another thing about hard water and charcoal. If you have hard water and you use charcoal, charcoal will actually absorb a lot of the salts and minerals. So there's another reason that you need to rinse out your pot really good. So that being said, I can sit while I get a bigger plant ready. I can sit 4 of my little orchids in my sink, and that's all I've done. And the water is just coming up to the surface, so they're good. And I'll repot this orchid in a little while. So let's deal with one that is in flower. So let's see how we're doing. We're still getting some little points coming. It's just beautiful. I have another one of these pots. I don't know if you've seen that video, but I haven't painted it yet because, oh boy, you know that owl I painted? Well, my daughter loved it, and so I thought, oh, we'll just touch something up, and I ended up wrecking it. I washed it away. I've done it. I'm on my 3rd time of doing that owl, but it turned out really nice, and I added 2 little babies to it, so, you know, it can be fun. So anyway, with the Monet pot, and it has a little more charcoal because when I repotted it with the bark, I used a little more charcoal that I had saved from the bottom of some of the Schultz bags and stuff that I first used, because that stuff always falls to the bottom. And I separated it all, which you could do too even when you just get the bag. Because what happens is, if all those fine particles are in your pot in one spot, they're going to stop the drainage. And we want drainage. No matter what, we want that when we put the water in, we want it to flow freely out. And humidity comes from the water sitting in there, but we want it to dry out a little bit between waterings. And you can see this one was dry, but was it harming the plant too much? I don't think so. And let's see, this one. Here we go. I'll just pull out the water. The sink water had come to here, and I did have the 1555 in there. So look, now I'm going to come and show you how this plant's been doing in bark. Okay, now it was only in bark, this one. I don't see anything gooey. I'm always dropping things on the floor. And a few minutes in the sink while I was running water through another one, and it's ready to go. And after this video, I'll be repotting it. I know. One thing about the bark is I have found I can check one if I want to see if something's wrong. It's quick and easy, comes out easy, goes back in. So I'll just set it there and that'll happen. Now, this one's been watered. Now, I will set it aside because I'll take my little makeup pads and I'll wipe each little leaf. And if I have some, I'm not going to do it now or this like, we'd have to be closer and have lots of something good like coffee or chocolate or something. But anyway, also a napkin or a piece of paper towel will reach right down into the corners, because I know people say, oh no, I don't get water on the flowers, but the leaves do get wet when I water. And I always have a big straw, and don't try and use a little straw. This is like a milkshake straw. And if the water is sitting anywhere, you can blow it out of crevices with a big straw. And I have, but boy, oh boy, I had a little straw and I'm not, no, don't do it. Because you'll get dizzy. So I'm dizzy anyway. No, I'm just kidding. So here we go. We've just watered it. And the other little ones are still soaking. So, you know, I'm not wasting my time. And I want to show you inside here how things are doing. Go this way. That's a little white one. She's very pretty, very fluffy looking. See. Now, pots, these are the holes Jack drilled with 1/2-inch holes, and he put a screen in the bottom. So, and air is getting in because I use a very large, you can see, I'll show you with my hand. So this one's watered, but they're fairly large pieces. Now if I have a real small plant, I would probably hit them with a hammer or something, because I haven't found any around that I can use. So this one is watered. We'll put her here. She's beautiful. I love her. All three of them, the triplets. I didn't name them separately. So here we go. You can see it's very free draining. All the water, and I have to because these are stuck to the saucers, and I did do the hammer thing and knocked a few off. But now I leave them, but I make sure I tip it. And this is Memoria Valretic that I ordered from Forest View Gardens on the coast, and it was just a baby, and I put it right into bark, and it has lots of little healthy growths, and it's doing good. So I'm hoping one of these days a nice flower will come. So this one's watered, so I'll put her here too. So that's what I do, is I sit them in the smaller ones. Because, why the smaller ones? Because they dry out faster. So they get a little extra water that way. And this is Lemon Surprise, just in bark. And this is Purple Haze. Yay, Jimi Hendrix. We haven't forgot you. So, okay. And these are not in flower, and they're getting some extra nitrogen soak, so they should be very healthy. So, now, I'm going to set maybe this one, and I should name this, but this is the one that I got from the store. It was in bad shape. Two leaves turned yellow, and it only had 4. But as you can see, it's getting nice new leaves. So it's going in the sink. And because it's a little bit bigger pot, I'll quite often get my little measuring cup and I'll just scoop some of the water into the top, and it can sit there. And while it sits there, I'll do Deep Purple. Some of the ones I use songs, but Deep Purple is still getting buds. They're big. Now, the other thing you want to do is when you're wiping off the leaves, and this is something that I do after, sometimes you don't see me, but I'm wiping the leaves off, and I'm checking for scale or anything else as you're doing each leaf above and below, and check it and make sure that everything is fine. So now I'm lucky because we have good water supply here. If I didn't, I'd probably have another bucket here, and I would just set it in there and let it soak, making sure they're all healthy. So this one gets a good water now. Deep Purple, when I repotted her last year, she had a little spike coming down below I hadn't noticed. And then this new spike came, and the other spike is still about 1/4 inch, and I don't know if it's slowly growing, but whether it's actually gonna amount to anything, I don't know. Now, these are bigger pots, and I found they get a really nice root development, and they may spend a little longer getting their root development before they maybe flower or spike, but it didn't seem to hurt this one, but it had already been in bark other years. Now, this is the one that's my oldest orchid, and it has a very long monopodial stem that next time I repot I'll have to cut off because I squished it in this big pot, but I know they show cutting it off and then continuing on, and it doesn't hurt them, but I just didn't have the heart. But okay, and then as you see, all the holes, these are 1/2 inch drilled in a normal flower pot. Jack spent a long time putting all these holes in. So these will all get wiped off after and go back where they were in the windowsill. Now the ones in flower, I try to keep the same way so that the flowers grow properly. But if they're in just green leaves, I can turn them around and try and get them a little balanced because they're all going to grow towards the light. So we're doing good, and this is how it goes on. Okay, and this one, this is exactly what I do when you're not here. This is exactly what happens. And because of the bark, and this is the other thing, these are not going to get crown rot. I'm going to wipe them down, and the pot drains. No water sits in the top. I mean, sometimes you go look at some in the grocery stores, and you can feel just water. Sure, the roots on the outside, when you pull the pot out, look good, but it's what the roots on the inside look like, how compact it is, the center of that orchid. So now, if you live somewhere where your plants are drying out too fast and bark really isn't enough on its own, now perlite is a good source to just mix in with the bark, and it'll help hold the moisture a little bit longer. So remember that. The bark is good, it aerates good, but you could add a little bit of perlite to help keep the moisture. Now mine, I've tried that before, and for me and how I water and the conditions of the house and the dry winters, everything seems to work with me this way. So, but I'm in Canada, good old BC, and winter time's time to reflect on your orchids and check them out, and you've got more time to do that, and enjoy some hobbies or something. So, okay, now, these are the two that, now, you read, if the orchid gets floppy leaves, those floppy leaves are probably going to stay floppy. But I think it depends on how floppy they've become. From a shock to the plant, too many roots had to be cut off, too much watering, not enough watering, many things. So both these orchids, and this one wasn't as bad, but these are our upside down lampshades. We didn't have to drill holes, just from the secondhand store. People don't want them anymore, they throw them out. It's a beautiful pot. And these orchids did have quite a few roots cut off, and they were going limp. But you know, they've been getting the extra nitrogen, and they're actually quite firm and getting new leaves. Now, I don't care if they get new flowers. I want a healthy plant first, because as time goes by, there's going to be so many beautiful flowers, maybe at different times. When were they in flower when you got them? So when are they going to flower again? And some people, if you got a real healthy plant like Moonglow, the first time I had Moonglow, and I'll show you close up. This was the flower stem the year after I got her, and I clipped the first node underneath the last flowering bulb. And instead of getting a new flower spike, I got the kiki, who will definitely soon be repotted. But I just love it. It's so dainty and it's so welcoming in the morning. So she is doing good, healthy. She'll stay in that pot. So now, oh yeah, I know what I didn't do. Where did I go? The ones that are in flower, okay. This one was already watered, and that's when you do it. I have some 10, 15, 10. So the middle number's higher, so it's good for flowers, and you don't have to, but you can put tiny little drop in your watering can. And this is why I keep it separate. These are for the leaves, these are for the ones in flower. And don't do it first. Water first while the bark is wet and less harm can come to the roots. Give your one that's in flower, it's like a chocolate bar to us maybe, or something, a little treat. So there we go, wasn't much. It'll spread around a bit. So, and I didn't do these ones either. I'm distracted. So there we go. And don't do it first while the roots are dry and while the bark is dry, because even though it's light, it's not really good for them. So there we go. And this one's soaking and this one will go, so I'll water this one, and we're narrowing down. The big one in the road comb, which has got 8 healthy leaves on it, it's just doing beautiful, and lots of aerial roots coming because it's in a bigger pot. It's using this time to grow healthy roots and leaves. It's in the bathtub because I put it in the bathtub. It's the first one I do, and I shower it down really good. So, I mean, this really covers the fertilization, the watering, and the humidity. We know about the Mr. Fogger bowls. Now, some people that may not have room for the Mr. Fogger bowl, there's lots of other ultrasonic misters out there that take up less space. My daughter, Rosemary, she has, it's a bottle of water that sits upside down. It's from Home Hardware here in Canada, and it spoots out a lot of mist fog. It's it's ultrasonic, and it works too. So, you know, Google it, check it out, check your stores, because if you don't have room for a big bowl, or maybe you've got room for just one bowl, but you want something else, then there's other alternatives out there. And the ultrasonic is so good for the air for you and for them. So there's the other humidity secret. And the other thing is, when you're getting your first orchid, you want to check out your house. Where should I put it? I say somewhere where you're going to be there lots. The kitchen is a humid area. The kitchen's a good area. You're in there more. The bathroom is a humid area. So check out your house. Where are you getting good light? Where have you got room? Have you got room for maybe a little rack somewhere in one of your rooms? Somewhere close where you can see and check them out, and kind of like Maggie. You always got to go over and give her a pat and a hug. And your plants like it too. So there we go. We did Moon Glow, and that's all she gets. These bigger pots are quite happy with just a few minutes running through water. So there we go. There goes another one. And I love this. It's an old pot, and it's got wonderful lot of drain holes. So I do, you know, quite happy about that situation. So let's see, was there anything else? I think that's good. So look for pots. Depending on your humidity, your heat, people are going to find different things work for them. Me, these seem to work just fine. And the heavy plastic roll comb, awesome. So we're doing good. Watered. This one's not. It can go sit in here. So anyway, I'll probably finish off here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I gotta go shovel snow. I don't know what you're doing where you are, but when this is done, and then I have to go to the greenhouse and pick a lemon and an orange and make our juice. So thank you for joining me, and it's fun, and we'll see you next time.